Hello, Dave Bishop again from Blue Air Commercial Refrigeration. As always, I'm joined by Danny Kloss, owner and operator of Tri-Point Refrigeration. We're just north of Austin, Texas on a beautiful day, and what we're going to try and accomplish today is to tell you a little bit about our 250-pound under-counter ice machine, and then spin her on around and show you how to perform a competent installation. Danny?
Yep. Today what we have here is the BLUI 250A. It's a blue ice under counter. The I stands for Crescent, 250-pound air-cooled ice machine. This machine here at a 7050 is going to make 263 pounds of ice in a 24-hour period. At a 9070, it's going to make 198 pounds of ice per 24-hour period. This machine is going to use 18 gallons of water per 100 pounds of ice. As you can see, it's got the same PC board as all the other blue ice machines out there. And it's got two evaporators, one on the back, one on the front, with a drop curtain in here.
96 pounds of capacity.
Yep.
And basically we're just going to spin her around and then show you how to perform a competent installation.
Absolutely. All right, so what we've got here is electrical, water in, and the drain. I like to always start with the water line first. So what we're going to use here is we're going to use a John Guest threaded male adapter with a 3/8 John Guest slit fitting. We always want to use some Teflon tape on our fittings. We want to make sure that Teflon tape is going the right direction. So when we thread this fitting in, we want to make sure that the Teflon tape is going with the threads, so that it tightens the thread tape onto the fitting instead of unthreading the thread tape from the fitting. And we don't have to have a whole bunch of wraps on here. 3 or 4 wraps is just fine. So the tape is going this way, so as we thread it in, it's going to tighten into the water adapter on the ice machine. And again, this doesn't have to be super tight. Just going to do a few. The fitting is not doing the sealing, the thread tape is doing the sealing on this. So we've got some 3/8 John Guest tubing. This tubing would normally go to a water filter system or to your water line provided in the building that you're doing the install. One thing about this tubing is, I don't know if you can see here, but this is cut at a really sharp angle. And we've got some buildup on the side of this pipe. So as we put that in there, number one, that'll rip the gaskets, and number two, it won't seat properly and we can have leaks. So we cut this, we want to make sure that we cut this straight. Always use a pair of tubing cutters. Don't use a pair of lineman's pliers or side pliers or something like that, because you'll squeeze the pipe, and when you do, it takes it out from being round. The next thing we do is we just take this pipe, push it in all the way, and then pull back. I'm going to make sure that that's seated in there, so when we turn it on, we won't have any water leaks. So the next thing we're going to do on this is the drain. Again, we're using a 3/4 inch male adapter, and we're going to thread this into our drain, but we don't want to forget our thread tape. So the same thing on the drain line. Whenever we thread this on, we're going to make sure that our thread tape's going the right direction. 3 or 4 wraps is plenty. And we just want to thread that right on into the back of that drain. And that's perfect. So, one very important thing about a drain is we always want to have a vent on the drain. Just like you have a vent in your bathroom at your house, you have a vent on a commercial installation for the drain, you've got to have a vent on an ice machine drain. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little piece of pipe. Go ahead and shove that in. Now we're going to use a T. Depending on the installation, right now we've got it set up on a cart, so it's not a typical condition, although We've seen ice machines set up on cars before. So we can either run this drain like this, with a vent anywhere from 8 to 12 inches tall. Can be taller if you want. I wouldn't probably go any less than 8, but as tall as you want, doesn't matter. So we can install it like this so that we get a good vent, and then the rest of our drain goes out to a floor drain somewhere, or we can install it like this, which is, this is the typical connection you would on like a modular blue ice machine. And then the rest of our drain is going to go down to wherever our floor drain may be located. So there's one other very important aspect of the drain installation. In a lot of situations, you may need to move this machine to work on it. You may, the customer may want to move behind it to clean it. If everything on this thing is glued, it's really hard to move it. So what we like to do in the field is we like to go ahead and glue this fitting in here. We like to glue our vent. We like to glue this fitting, but we don't like to glue this one. Under a normal drain setting, if this is all the way in on PVC, PVC does not have to be glued in order to drain properly. It won't leak, but this also gives us the opportunity in the future, if we have to come back and uninstall this machine and move it to clean it or work on it, it makes it real easy where we can just undo the drain, shut off the water, pull our water line out, and now we can move the machine around and work on it, and we're done. It makes installation super simple. The next step that we would do is take our electrical cord, cut the zip ties. We're going to run this cord to an approved plug. So on this machine, the max overload protection device that we want is a 20 amp breaker, and it's 115 volt. Just take it to your plug, plug it in, turn the machine on, and watch it go to town. Dave, do you have anything else to offer on this?
No, that was very well said, Danny. I appreciate how you approach the installation. It makes it nice and clean, and it also thinks about down the road if you do have to perform some surgery on the back of the machine. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at any point, anytime we sell an ice machine, we want to sell a service package with that ice machine. So we want to get into this machine at least every 6 months. We want to disassemble it, we want to clean it. And then sometimes, in a situation like an under counter, it may be under a counter in a bar or in a coffee shop or something, we need to move that machine. And the easiest way is to make sure that this isn't glued. And leave 3 or 4 foot of slack in your water line behind the machine. You can just kind of roll it up and push it back there. That way when you do, you can just pull that whole machine out, no issues.
One last question. Should every ice machine be connected to filtration, or is that like an option?
It's always an option. It's going to depend on whether the customer's going to pay for it or not. We always prefer filtration.
And so does Blue Ice. We want filtration on every single one
Absolutely.
of our ice machines, because wherever we are in the country, everybody has a different water profile. Some of them are worse than others, and some of them have different things in the water than other places.
Yep.
So we find that for us to support the brand for the 3-year parts and labor warranty, 5 years on the compressor and 5 years on the evaporator, we require that you have proper filtration on this unit, as we've demonstrated before.
Sure.
So
I've actually got a Blue Ice filter right here. This is a great filter. It's good for 2 gallons per minute. We've got a single head and a twin head. The twin head's good for up to a 1,500 pound ice machine, and each filter's rated at 21,000 gallons. So you really can't beat it. It's also got the phosphate inhibitor and the carbon block. So we're good. We're going to be removing scale, calcium, magnesium, and carbon for odor and organics.
thank you very much, Danny.
Yeah, man. No problem. Thanks.
For more information, you can go see us at www.blueairinc.com. We'll see you again.
Yeah, it was good. You guys definitely relaxed.
Guys, that was good.
We nailed that one.
Here.